Hey, welcome back to Nick Vick Locks. Today we're continuing our series on how to pick locks, and right now focusing on driver pins. Today we'll be discussing serrated drivers. There's several different varieties that you can come across in a lock, but they all have cuts into the sides, whether it be just on one half of it or the entire length of the pin. They have serrations or notches cut into it all the way around. And then the length of those, like I said, will vary. Some will have more, some will have less. And then the depth of those cuts will vary as well. This pin is from a Master 410 Lotto, I believe. There's very light serrations in it, but it behaves more like a standard pin than a serrated pin. Now, these other ones here that have the deeper cuts, those are what are going to give you the feedback and behave like you would expect a serrated pin. These are more common to what you're going to find. So what they do is the cuts and the serrations are going to move up out of the core. And then at that shear line, they're going to get caught in the serrations. And what that's going to do is that's going to bind it up. You're going to get an audio feedback in the form of a click like you would with a normal set pin, but the pin is not set yet. But you're just getting a click every time it goes from a larger to a smaller diameter between the serrations. Apart from the audio click, the feedback's going to be the same as a standard pin. You're going to get the clicks in between the serrations, but once it sets, it's going to click the same. And before it hits the serrations, it's going to behave exactly like a standard pin in terms of just moving until it gets to the smaller diameter area. But we will get this put up in the rear view cutaway, and we can talk about it more as well as show you what all of these look like. Okay, now that we have this set up in the cutaway, we can take a look and see how it's going to interact with the lock core and the Bible of the body while we're picking it or with a key involved. Just like any other pin, when the key is inserted, the key pin is raised up. Does it not want to move? Oh, might have this too tight. There we go. Our key pin is going to be moved up by the key till we reach the shear line, at which the lock will rotate. There we go. Now, when we are tensioning the lock and we have rotation on that core, each time a serration is moved up to the shear line, we're going to get the audio click that we would expect to hear when a pin is set. Let's see if we can catch that, and so you knows what that sounds like. So you can see that as we tension the core and push it up, that we're getting multiple clicks on the pin before it reaches a set state. And those serrations will help it get caught in the middle of the shear line, binding up the lock and preventing it from turning. So serrated pins, when they get caught there in the middle, you're still going to be able to do the jiggle test, but it's important to look at the key and think about how high those pins are going, get an idea if that pin has been set or not. Let's take a look at this in the side view and we can talk about it a little bit more. Okay, now that we have this set up in the side cutaway, we can take a look at the different serrations and see how those are going to act. You can see we have serrated pins in every stack of varying levels of serration, as well as varying heights until the serrations start to act upon the lock. So we'll work through this, and I'll move the mic closer so you can hear the feedback as the pins are set or partially set, and we'll discuss it afterwards. Okay, and you can see how you're going to have to move around a little bit and check the pins the entire time you're picking, because you never know which click is going to be the final setting. of the driver. The serrations are going to give you feedback to make you think it's set, and you're going to move on, but they won't be set. So, yeah. So, what we can do is we can use the jiggle test like we've talked about before to check to see if that pin's set, and then move on from there. So we'll get this set up for a jiggle test, and we'll go through that. Okay. So, just like any other time we pick, we want to go through and check for binders. So, all right. So this pin here in stack 4 just feels springy and loose. And if I go into this stack, I can move it a little, but I feel it's starting to bind. Give it a little bit more pressure. That up. And now I feel no resistance or anything, but I also don't even feel the key pin anymore, which tells me that's probably been overset. Okay, now I can feel my key pin. So 2 was binding. And I have no movement or no resistance from that pin until it goes up to touch the driver, and then I feel the slight spring tension. That's what I want to feel on the jiggle test. 1, did a click. Nope, doesn't feel it. Now that feels set. I feel set. There we go. So we've discussed the serrated pins and how to go about them, what feedback they're going to give us, what we're looking for, and how to test for set states or pin states with the serrated drivers, how they can get bound at the core with the serrations, the false feedback of the clicks each time it moves to a new serration, and then how prior to the serrations beginning, they will behave as if they are a standard driver. A lot of these pins are going to be found more common in your green belt and higher locks. The American 1100 is a very common one with serrated pins. You can even get a configuration where it's all serrated instead of spool and serrated. The Paclock 90A and 90A Pro model, as well as the PL 410 Pro from Paclock, contains serrated pins. The Master 410 has a serrated pin in it, but it is the lightly serrated one that we looked at the beginning of the video. The Abus 7440 has lightly serrated pins. You'll find them in a lot of challenge locks because they're easier pins to make in terms of skill level as well as equipment needed to make a serrated pin, and they're just faster to make. So a lot of people will incorporate variations of serrated pins into their challenge locks. Um, Now, the next video we'll be going over, I don't know yet, we'll figure it out. But yeah, we will be continuing on with the video series. Um, so thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful and informative, and we'll see you next time.